All right. This story is about organizations and it's about a company that I made. So, because I like to be organized. So the story goes like this: is I've been working for other people for a few years, never really liked it, and decided I'd work for myself again. I worked for myself from age 12 till I was in my early 20s. Then worked for other people for a few years, and now it's time to work for myself again. And I was thinking about the kind of thing that I wanted to do. And one of the things I've noticed in life is this ridiculous question that kids get asked by adults. What do you want to be when you grow up? What does that mean, that question? It doesn't mean anything. Be. What does it mean to be something? Oh, I want to be, I'm going to make this up, a doctor. Okay, great. What does it mean to be a doctor? Like when you're a kid and you're like, I want to be a doctor. Okay. Does it mean that you want to do paperwork for 90% of the day? Does it mean you want to battle with insurance companies to get paid money? Does it mean that you want to scale an office staff of administrative people and deal with like cleaning an office and like, you know, like all the requirements of the law that comes with being a doctor? Does it mean that you want to help people heal? Which I think to a lot of kids that would say they want to be a doctor, that would be the main, I think, idea of why they would want to be a doctor or like a firefighter or like whatever. They want to help in different ways, in ways that they think are meaningful. But what happens is when we use the question, what do you want to be? Then that is a ridiculous question, because what does it mean to be a doctor if 90% of your time is paperwork? And if a person who wants to be this imaginary thing called a doctor, what they imagine is helping people 100% of the time, and then find themselves doing administrative paperwork 90% of the time and like cleaning bathrooms, like not like as like, do they imagine like that's the requirement of the job at different times? Because that's the game of building a business around something where you have to be something. And the other thing about being something is that most things that people want to be are trading time, effort, and risk for reward, which is money, which means people are doing work in exchange for money, which is a one-to-one relationship, which for most people means that if they want twice as much money, they have to work twice as hard or produce twice as much output. And to me, like that was not something that I wanted to do. Okay, be both in terms of like imagining that I would be something. I never imagined that sentence, like that meant anything. And second, I never wanted to be constrained by other people. And so what that meant is I had to have my own business. And since as a kid, I always had my own businesses in the neighborhood, like I understood the different parts of business, which is always the same, which is always marketing, sales, operations, HR, finance, admin, and special projects in every business. And so I knew enough about those things that I could do those things. So it didn't matter to me what it was that I was going to do, because I wasn't going to be anything. Okay, I was just going to do stuff. And my objective was to do a thing that created as much time as possible for me to do whatever I wanted. And that included in the build-up phase and also later in life. And so what that meant in my analysis of what I wanted to do was I wrote down the characteristics and properties of the thing that would be a business, that would be the ideal business based on my understanding of where things go wrong in other businesses and the intricacies of running things and the difficulty of running things and how hard it is to run things because of human beings and their behavior. And so I thought, so what are the 5 criteria of a business that I would do? And the first one was simple. And by simple, I wrote simple with a dash as possible, simple as possible. Because, and that was a criteria. Like if I thought of any other business that was simpler, anyone, I wouldn't do the previous one. Okay. I would only do the one that was the most simple of that I could think of, like the number one. So it couldn't be number two or three. It had to be the most simple one, because I know based on my experiences in previous jobs that complex things are nearly impossible to get right with a high quality and keep people happy. Because when it's challenging, when it's complex, you can take a great person and ruin them with complexity. And I'd seen that in myself, and I'd seen that in other people, in organizations that are complex, where the work is complex, like a micro turbine company or an electric utility, or even software. So I said simple. The next one was services, not products. And there were two reasons for that. The first reason was with products, at the time, you have to maintain inventory. Like you have to have like a warehouse with like shelves and put stuff on them, move stuff around, forklifts, at the scale I was imagining, big warehouse, lots of forklifts, lots of people in the warehouse, moving things. And I'm like, that's not fun. I didn't want a big warehouse, which meant I couldn't sell products, which meant I had to do services. And the second reason I want to do services is my wife had a background in marketing, and products require a sales team, but services mostly require marketing. And since I had like a marketing pro that I was married to, I thought that would be a good asset to deploy in this new system. So it was simple services. I wanted the next one, physical location, is I wanted to go to people's houses. I didn't want them to have to come to me, because I had heard enough and seen enough about restaurants that were great that failed because of construction projects, or retail locations where the neighborhood changed different ways, or like a highway got put in, or some like traffic, variable occurred, where there was major construction for like 2 years, and like who knows what. Like I did not want to rely on the randomness of life for a channel for customers to come to me. So I wanted to go to them, which meant I needed vehicles. And I'll come back to that later. So it was simple services, a mobile business. I wanted labor that was basically unskilled and trainable. So basically the doing of the work, whatever it was, I didn't know what I was going to do yet. Not be, but do. What was I going to do? It could have been anything. But I wanted to be able to train the people doing the work in a repeatable way, so I could scale. So there was no special skill. There was experience skill. There always is. But I mean a special skill, like a special degree, or like a certification, or like HVAC licensing. I didn't want any of that. No special skills. Just labor. And then the last one was quirky, because I know there's riches in the niches. And the narrower a niche in a business system, the more you can concentrate your marketing. So, for example, if you have a business that targets, I'm going to say women, age 40 to 50, that live in a certain distance from the city, that have basements and attics, that move every 5 years. Knowing that niche is super important for coming up with marketing campaigns and tactics to try to drive awareness into whatever it is that you're doing. Where if you have a broad, idea, like lawn mowing, for example, it's harder to differentiate yourself in those markets, because there's a zillion people doing it. Probably better, faster, less expensive. I don't like to compete on those things. Okay. So basically having a narrow niche where I could excel and be the best in the niche is better, in my experience, when you're throwing marketing dollars at something. So, And so Quirky, is a thing that enables, me to understand, is it a niche? Is it quirky? And so I wrote these 5 things down on a piece of paper. I was in San Francisco. And all of a sudden, I wrote them down. I'm drinking a cup of coffee in a coffee shop, plotting my next moves. And I saw a 1-800 Got Junk truck drive by, which is a junk removal company, blue trucks. And I looked at my piece of paper and I was like, simple services, mobile, no special skills. And it's quirky. And back then there was a campaign on TV for like Got Milk, which was the milk industry was promoting milk. And so it was kind of funny in its way. And I thought that's quirky enough. And I ended up buying a bunch of these franchises because they're scalable, they're simple. And so, really, my experience with disorganizations led to this idea of what would be an organization that I would want to operate. It was the opposite of everything that I had experienced over there. Everything that I didn't like about the other thing, I just said, what is the opposite? I wrote it on a piece of paper, and then I saw a truck driving by. And that's life.